Hello and welcome, the first part of the video series for Sonic Academy. I won't keep introducing myself because you know I'm Gorp all the way through. So, what I'm going to do is show you quickly how I made my percussion. Here we go. So the kick was made by, I did it in I did it in Kick 2 by Sonic Academy. If you haven't seen it, check it out, it's wicked. I actually did it on my Kool-Aid track in the tutorial. I go in depth a bit more on that as well, how I use it. So check that out, it's really cool. But what I did was I committed it to audio, and I've probably used this kick in a couple of tracks now because I tend to use the same things to reduce me, spending too long and being indecisive. And, I know this sounds good in a club. I've used it before in a track. And, I'll use it again. If you notice, it's not just a 4/4 pattern. It does actually change slightly in these areas. That's just to keep variation and a bit of groove with the bass line. But yeah, also at the beginning, I've just reversed the kick there just to give it a bit more of a sucking impact on the low end. So what I did to do that, I just double clicked with the marquee tool like that, and then I went down to here and hit reverse. So in Logic, it's like a little reverse thing there, but you can't do it if it's in flex mode. So if you're trying to flex something or transpose it and it's in reverse, if I do this, watch, it will disappears back to how it was originally. So you have to bounce it in audio and then go back to it. So yeah, let me get rid of this, and then if I just play it for you on its own. So you can hear that it's just got like some double kicks at the end, which I probably made using just getting the audio and just putting it down a channel like this, and then adding extra sections like that, and then just going like that, and just adding little bits in, just so it it adds some variance. As you can see on that one, I've probably gone like that there as well. So yeah, that's how I make my kick grooves. And then I go over to if I highlight it and then go over to here, you can quantize your audio there. You see that one's slightly shuffled, but so then you can quantize it to whatever you like. If you wanted it a different swing, or if you wanted it in a triplet, or it's really handy to get groove sometimes. So that's how I do my kick. On the kick itself, I have used a Pro Q3 just for the visualizer. Really, I'll come into that when I talk about the bass line. But yeah, at the beginning, I've also got a kick there. If you notice the second channel down, I always have that so I can adjust my levels or process that differently. And I think on that one, I should have a cut at around 50, and then when it drops in here, it has a cut of 28.734. So yeah, so that's what I do. So you get more of a, when it drops, it's more of an impact. But that's like, perceived, and it sounds better. So, but yeah, that's what I do for my kick. Moving on to the percussion. If you notice, I've got a group here. There's a percussion group, and there's also individual percussion bits here. So 4 channels of individual percussion, and the reason I do that is because I like to process these as a whole, so they're all processed and have their own sound. And then with the other ones, where I can sort of fill out the range and everything, and the sides and things like that. So on the group, I don't really have much. I just top and tail most of the well, that one I haven't, because it's in a group. Sometimes I just do it in the group because I don't want to cause too many. I always find if you had too many EQs like this, your drum mix can sound empty or unnatural because there's too many cuts, in certain areas. So I tend to just do it onto the actual group itself, unless it's going to affect any of the processing before. Or I'd put it, the EQ at the beginning. So if I just play this is this is without the effects on and the processing of this. So you can see everything's quite set back. So if I look at what I've put on there, I've put an Oxford inflator, which this adds a lot of harmonics and saturation, but also you can boost the level a bit, and it gives it that nice perceived loudness that you get from when you use saturation. So that adds like, if I play it, you'll understand. It really brings out the reverbs. And then on this one, I use this all the time on most of my drums. It's a UAD plugin. It's called the Fatso by Empirical Labs. So it's I use this Simmons drums preset because I found that one, I was just flicked through it one day and I was like, whoa, that just works perfect. The settings on it was just perfect. So what I'll do is I'll play it and you'll hear how it brings the level of the louder elements that I don't really want in your face. It squashes those a little bit, but also brings out the rest of the drums. So you see how it brings everything up, and then but also pushes the things that are too forward back. So that's a really handy plugin I use quite a lot, especially on my drums. I don't tend to do too much sometimes on my drums. I just try and tend to keep them clean and just make sure that they're really punchy. Then after that was an EQ. I'm not sure why I put it there in the chain, but it obviously there's a reason for it. I probably should have put it there, but the way it's working the gain reduction on this compressor, I'll leave it as it is. And then on the end I just put FabFilter Pro L limiter, just to take away the transient spikes off, push them down so it's not as and also bring it glues it together a little bit as well, with an output of -1 dB. So if I turn that on, you'll hear, and this is the group percussion group as a whole, group 1. See, I could probably drive that so it's actually it's working, and so you'll hear it when I drive this. It'll bring it out more. I mean, it is bringing the volume up, which I intended it to do. So, but yeah, you just got to be careful because sometimes volume doesn't always necessarily mean it's sounding better. So what you do is you check that by bringing down your output, so it'd be the same as when it was enabled. But you can hear how it's just bringing everything together, all the little small sounds in that. So that's basically all I did on the drum side was use those on the percussion. Let me just get rid of those. And with the kick, it would be. You can hear on this one the verbed clap. It's I've actually put a decapitator on it just to give it some a bit of a bite. I tend to use a lot of saturation. I never used to do. I didn't really understand it. I used to think saturation was like for bit crushing or just smashing things to bits, so it destroyed like a distortion would. But I've really got into it. It's like free volume, because it's the way it works with perceived loudness in the human ear. So I've just put this on the reverbed clap. If I turn that off, it just gives it a bit of attitude and it spanks it, Right, so let me just solo that. And then in here we've got, these are individual elements. So if I look at, like say the hat, for example, I use Saturn on the hat. Saturn's a great saturator. It's also an EQ, and also it isolates certain bands. So on this one, it looks like I've isolated the higher bands here. So if I listen to this on its own, and without the saturator on it, without Saturn on it, and you can hear how it's really harsh in a certain area. So what I've done is all you do is click in here on, and you can create the bands within this, and it's great this This, I use it quite a lot for a lot of things. Just go to that. So I've created this band here from 3,500 to 7.5, 7.8, and then what I've done is, looking at it, if you click on each one, you get an option down here to actually EQ it. And if on the top band, I've brought that presence down by about 14, so that really brings down the harshness. If you listen to this, helps if I turn it on, Ollie. There we go. Do it again. So you can see the waveform's actually changed, and I've got a full warm tube, 100% saturation on it. So it's great, this, because you can isolate the areas that's problematic. So around here, I know that there's that really harsh. I mean, if I this one, turn it off so it's not enabled. And you can really, get surgical and get right in there on the. So it's like an EQ with a massive difference. It's really good. And also you can, with this, you can select all your different, your different types of tubes or tapes, your different type of saturation, and then you can also mix it if you wanted to use it to. You just change your mix level. So it was not 100%. You'd put it on, say, 50, and then it's like parallel processing it, which is really good. And one thing I did learn from someone a couple of years ago was this is great as well for isolating things. So if I didn't want any of this down here, I could turn the saturation off, so there's only saturation in this area, or I could just have that muted. So then if you listen to this, it's only this area. It's only the area there. It's great. It's a great little tool. All the FabFilter stuff's great, and I'll probably be praising it all the way through this video. But yeah, there's that. And then my top loop, I've just put that through another Saturn. Looks like I've just kind of, let's have a look at that. Yeah, I've taken a bit of the lows out, a bit of the tops out, and then I've 100% warm tubed it. That's probably to make it really crunchy, because looking at this, I've put it into the UAD Vertigo, which I use quite a lot, which is great for adding harmonics in the sides. So you've got your in this section here, you've got your mono signal, and then in here you've got your sides. So I covered this in the other tutorial for Sonic Academy on the Kool-Aid, how I use it for my drum, my kick drum. Sometimes if I want that really boxy, like broken speaker sound, I use this. But that's normally in the second harmonic area on the monos, but this time I've used it for the top loop to give it that like grittiness in the sides, just so that when I've got that really dry, well, apart from the reverb, but I've got that really dry percussion going on, and then I've also got this going on. It just adds some nice flavors in the width, and it makes everything sound a lot bigger than it is. So, and then after that, it's just a ride. I'll bring that in, and it's just a ride just to pick up the pace of the track. You can see there's no EQ on it or anything. It's rare for me to not do an EQ, but I'll have a look. I probably might need it. Yeah, you see that it's quite a clean one. I mean, I wouldn't have. I would have checked that and just probably left it anyway, but I have left it in the original track. I won't really worry about that, because a lot of the samples nowadays, they are really clean and they're processed well and stuff, so you don't always necessarily have to worry unless you can hear it or you can visually see it. I just leave it in. So and then shakers, I've just put a kickstart, which is I think it's a few years old now, but it's a great thing. I use it on sub nice and tight or a sub tight. It's similar to doing a side chain with a ghost kick, but you've just got this one mix here which you can turn it. My favorite is between it's 30 or it's 60. I normally have it around there, so it just gives that like pumping effect. So I'll do it drastically. Yeah, so I've just put that on there, and then that's the whole percussion, but together collectively they sound like this with with all those, with everything going on, it sounds like this. Yeah, so next up, we're going to look at the bass.